just been trying to find an anonymous way for me to stand in this church building, just to record a few sentences for the beginning of the Dibley diaries this week. We are going to think this week about Jesus walking to Peter on the water and what that means when Peter gets out of the boat. I'm in one of the church buildings where I work, and it has a particularly good example of a church ceiling which looks like an upside down boat. So for a long time the church building, the part of the church building where the people meet, has been called the nave. It comes from the Latin navis, meaning ship, kind of upside down boat. Some church buildings look like that more convincingly than others. This one is quite convincing. But when we think about Peter getting out of the boat, I think it's a good challenge for us to think about what that means for our church communities, particularly in rural areas, to be the church community outside the building. People tend to use the word church to mean the building and the church community. And I've been trying for a while now to use church building for church building and church or church community for the gathering of people. Church buildings are amazing historical places where people have gathered for generations to pray. They are really good, but sometimes God might be calling us to get out of the boat, to get out of the church building, and to think about what it means for us to be the church community outside this space. For thought for the day this week, we're right here by the lake, one of our nearby lakes where we live. It's a bit noisy around here as well. You might be able to hear children enjoying being on the water, and cars, and if we're really lucky there'll be a plane as well overhead. But we're here by the water to think about the story from Matthew 14, beginning at verse 22, where Jesus walks on the water. So Jesus has had a really busy day and he stays behind to pray, and whilst he stays behind to pray, he sends the disciples off in the boat to go across the lake. The Lake of Galilee is much bigger than this lake here. It's much more like a sea. The disciples are sailing into the night, and in the middle of the night Jesus walks towards them on the water. He walks over to them, the disciples are scared, and then they see it's Jesus, and then they don't know what's going on, and then Peter says this thing. Peter says that he wants to get out of the boat and walk on the water with Jesus. And he does it. He gets out of the boat. He leaves his safety and his security to one side, and he gets out of the boat and he starts walking on the water. And then he gets worried. Then he gets frightened. He's frightened of the wind and the waves and the storm, and he starts to sink. And Jesus says, "You should have had more faith." But he doesn't let Peter drown. He says, "You should have had more faith." Then he grabs him by the hand and brings him up so he's not sinking. This is a real challenge for us and our church communities today. When we're called to do something which seems unusual, to kind of get out of our boat, we should do it. Even if we think we can't do it, we should do it. We should try to do it. We should really try to do that thing which we think, I'm not sure it's safe. I'm not sure this is going to go well. I think I might fail at it. We let these worries and insecurities dominate us. When Peter got out of the boat, he didn't know that he could do it. Maybe he had some Peter bravado that he could, but he was soon very anxious and very frightened. But Jesus was right there for him and did not let him drown. when we want to do something that we really feel that God is calling us to do, even if it's something which is unusual or we don't understand or we can't work out how it's going to work, but we really feel God is calling us to do it, then we need to do it. We need to do the thing that God is asking us to do. Because, like Peter, when we step off onto the water into this strange environment which is difficult and dangerous and scary and we don't know whether it's going to work or not, we need to trust and have faith. And if it goes wrong, God is still there, right there with us, ready to grasp our hand to bring us back into the boat. So let's do some things which step out of the water, even if it's just a little bit, something which takes us out of our comfort zone, our security zone, how we usually work. Let's do that thing and trust that God is right there with us and won't let us drown. This week for our lakeside Dibley moment, this Dibley moment is about a friend of mine who was towing a boat from where we lived in the countryside down towards the sea so they could sail the boat. Now, trailing things with a trailer or towing things is a big part of country life, but my friend thought she'd put everything tightly on the trailer and set off with her mother in the car. Partway along the journey they heard a thunk and they pulled over to see what had happened. Something had slipped on the trailer and had made quite a sizable hole in the boat. And the mum said to my friend, well, we could just go on to the seaside, couldn't we? And my friend had to say, no, now we have a great big hole in our boat that isn't going to work. So we can't do that. And they had to turn around, bring the boat back, get the boat fixed before they could take it out sailing on another occasion. That's it for the Dibley Diaries for this week. I pray that you and your village, however large or small, have a really blessed week, a week full of smooth sailing.